Farid, what comes into your mind when you hear the word digitalization?
It sounds to me like you are moving away from physical record keeping, or at least integrating some kinds of digital systems or solutions to your existing process. That's what I understand when I hear that word.
Yeah, and when it comes to numbers, I think digitalization is the way to go, because I don't see myself manually entering numbers into a book if I'm running a business. So that topic will be the centerpiece for today when we talk about not only digitalization, but digitalization and SMEs and cloud accounting. Now, have you heard about cloud accounting before?
No, I mean, accounting alone sounds like a very mind-boggling topic to me.
And you come from an engineering background.
Yes, and now you add digital to it, yeah.
Well, today we have two experts who will enlighten us about these topics. We have Wendy Woon, Head of Strategy and Product Innovation, SME Banking at Maybank. Welcome, Wendy. And Jye Eng, co-founder and CEO of Bukku, Maybank's accounting solution partner. Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We're very happy to have you here today. Before we get into the crux of this conversation, Wendy, please tell us, what do you do in your job as the Head of Strategy and Product Innovation?
I usually will have to do strategy planning for SME banking, because in Maybank, SME banking looks after the segment, SME segment. So how do we define SME segment is, of course, per bank negara. So what will be our offering to the SMEs segment? It can be from transaction perspective, that means account opening, online banking, until and lending, or their trade requirement when they go cross-border. So it's end-to-end basically. And not only that, we also, at Maybank, we're also looking at beyond banking. So what do you mean by beyond banking is beyond the traditional, conventional way of banking, meaning we're also trying to be an advisory or a partner to our SMEs, say. So that's where we try to bring in a lot of partner tools, for example, in accounting, in HR management, or even in POS systems, so that, we hope that our SMEs are able to not only grow, but able to sustain their business in a sustainable way, I would say.
Right, and you mentioned tools, and that's exactly what we need. I feel even as a Farid, you and I are not business owners.
No,
we're journalists.
otherwise we won't be here.
That's right. So, Jay, maybe you can tell us, as the co-founder and CEO of Bukku, what is Bukku?
Bukku is a cloud-based accounting software company that I started in 2019. We have been in the market around 6 years. So, doing well, and currently the fastest growing accounting software company in Malaysia.
Wow, that's impressive and interesting why you called it Bukku. Bukku means book. Bukku also means book in Japanese. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah. So that's if we were going to do the BUKU, it's going to be tough for us to actually get a trademark register.
Yes.
So it's actually a twist that we want to go local, and then we were just adding a K in between, and it's just so nice that it's also a Japanese word.
Right.
Yep.
And if I typed in BUKU and all I got was just books, so that'll be hard to find you, won't it?
Yep.
So let's unpack this topic of digitalization and how, maybe you can tell us, how did Bukku and Maybank sort of came together and forged this partnership?
Yeah, I think one of the guys from Maybank contacted us through LinkedIn. That was like back in the years. I think they are actively looking out.
Oh, it's like LinkedIn is condemned for a long time.
A couple of years back.
Yeah.
So I think they are pretty active, like looking at to actually forge some kind of a meaningful partnership. Exactly like what Mandy mentioned, going beyond banking. I think that's one part of their strategy, and that's where we started to have conversation, like how can we actually leverage on each other to actually bring in more benefits to the in our case SMEs. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the leverage. So tell us what is a big financial or operational problem now that SMEs face today in terms of accounting?
Okay. From our engagement with SMEs across industries, in fact, their challenges mainly you can see is from two perspectives. One is their cash flow, right? They always say that their cash flow is a concern because they don't have much buffer, so they have to be able to look at visibility is very important to them in that sense. The cash in, cash out, whether they have enough cash to pay their suppliers, and whether the payment collections from their clients are on time. So these are the most crucial to them. So if let's say they are not able to have good visibility on the cash flow, I think that will leads to they would have problem in their financial planning.
Yeah,
right? Whether they
compliance,
can, whether I can expand or not. I can go to open my second outlet. They also may not able to have a view, right? So that is one of the challenges that I see. Secondly is of course SMEs they do not have a large workforce, so they are very stretched thin. They are always some are like a one-man show kind of thing, right? They do end-to-end. So the business owners are sometimes being stretched into doing manual reconciliation of their accounting, paperwork, bank statements, invoices and things like that. So that will take their time away from managing business or even grow their business, right? And that also perhaps may lead to compliance risks, right? If their bookkeeping is not improper or their reports it's not there.
I think basically if I understand correctly, what Wendy is trying to say is that businesses need to know where the money is coming in and going out. Because if you are like walking in blind, then you wouldn't know where you stand financially and you can't expand. If I have summarized that correctly, hopefully.
Yes. Because sometimes the client may bank in, and if they do not have an online banking or a proper recording, they may not know that, I have received these payments, for example, right? The transactions is in or not.
And you mentioned something earlier. You said what? Manual
reconciliation, yeah.
That sounds painful. Just entering a lot of numbers and cash in and cash out.
Yes.
Manually, can you imagine? So I think we've come a long way from that, and that is where Bukku comes in, right, Jye? So what is cloud accounting again, and why does cloud accounting matter in this context with SMEs?
So traditionally, software, what you can imagine is that something you need to install, something you need to buy off the shelf, perhaps, I don't know, $300, a few $1,000, you buy it off and you install it, whether it's a CD, whether it's a USB thumb drive. That's the concept of software. In terms of cloud, it's online, in a sense that you actually log in, just like you access your Facebook, you open your browser. So that is the meaning of cloud. And the benefit, the biggest point to highlight here is it's everywhere. As long as you have internet connection, it's not bound to start in the office.
Right. So do I log in, for example, Bukku, do I log in on a browser or do I need to have an app?
It's a browser.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can basically, whenever you are overseas, you don't have to worry about finding a way to connect to a local computer. You can naturally, just like how you access Facebook or whatever, you can do anything. You can issue an invoice on the go. You can use bring out your mobile phone. You can issue invoices, quotation while you are on the go. So that is the convenience of having the cloud.
Very easy and convenient and less stressful compared to taking the logbook and manually entering facts and figures.
Yeah, that does sound like it has its appeal. But what I want to know is, maybe Wendy, you can answer this. What are some of the reasons that some SMEs are yet to adopt this solution? I mean, it sounds like it's going to be great, but the fact that some people are still not doing it, what might be the reason?
I think end of the day, it goes down to mindset and familiarity. Mindset, meaning a lot of SMEs still feel that digital accounting, cloud accounting is like something that is so complicated
Really?
or time consuming, or I guess it's like something like, hey, I'm only an SME, I don't need that. I can do manual perhaps, right? My transactions are not that many.
I'm not big enough to do that just
yeah,
yet.
so that cloud accounting is more for bigger companies or corporates and things like that.
Which is a big misconception.
Yes, yes. And if this is so, right, and they are always not sure, are you sure that should I go into this or I should not, right? If yes, then where should I start? You know, there's always this question marks or this that they have lah. And then secondly is, I guess, currently their processes in an SMEs, you would have to like run banking, you have to collect payment, you have to do your invoicing, bookkeeping, or even payroll, right? And they actually do it on different system because they don't have one system, and they feel that, hey, you introduced me to Jay introduced me to digital account, cloud accounting, digital accounting. Is this something that's going to add extra work for my team or for myself, right? And that's why they always have this misconstrued perception that they thought they never ever think that it's a tool that actually can simplify their processes and actually help them save a lot of time.
Yeah, but that's less boring with it.
Yeah.
So my question is, does an accountant need to do this, or who is tasked to sort of get the login from Bukku and do all of this?
Yes. The other important point I need to highlight here is that traditionally, accounting software, you could imagine, is typically accountants, bookkeeper, themselves logging in, doing whatever. It's very hard to imagine a business owner going into accounting software doing whatever back in the days. But the way cloud accounting was designed is to make it simple, simplified. And our target audience, at least for us, is no longer accountants. And we have to make it as user-friendly as possible, because one of the key points is that we want to give the accessibility back to the business owner and for them to look at how their business is doing timely. We're talking about real time instead of calling your accountant, hey, how my business is doing, and what if the accountant couldn't pick up the call, and what if they're overseas, right? And you simply do not have that kind of real-time visibility. So I think that's a key difference when it comes to accounting software, cloud accounting software. We are giving the power back to the business owner that they can log in and see, is my business profitable? Is my client paying?
What Jay mentioned just now make me thought of one. A client, we used to, when we do credit application, we will request for financial statements from client, right? The client will say, oh, sorry, you have to wait. My accountant is having maternity leave. He will come back next 2 months.
So she will be back in the next 2 months.
Yeah, so I was like,
okay.
oops.
Okay, so now...
So that explains it very well.
And you can imagine time is money,
right?
As people say, right? So every minute counts.
Right. So I'm a business owner. I want to keep my accounts all, tally and all accordingly, right? So I can log in anytime I want. I don't need to contact my accountant.
Technically, yes.
Okay, so that sounds good.
Okay. But I think if I were an SME listening to this, and I hope they are, my question would be, okay, they all sounds great, but how does this benefit me and my business? Maybe Wendy, you can tell us that.
Actually, before they jump into that, there was always a concern about trust and security. How
Data breach.
Yes,
The data is
I'm
not with
putting
me.
on the all my financial data on cloud. How sure are we that? How sure am I that it is safe? Right?
Well, can you just explain what is the cloud?
You see,
Cloud.
Traditionally, you own that piece of software. It's simple. You buy something off the shop, that belongs to you. End of story. You are not renting, you are owning it. And that belongs to you, and you're going to install somewhere, and likely one of the computer in your office, you own the data. And I think that's a very, very key concept. And when it comes to cloud, you don't see it. So it's like a website. So you will actually have that concern, like, where is my data? Is it safe? Right? What's the security? How is anyone having access to to my data? So those kind of concerns, we hear it all the time, especially before the MCO lockdown period.
Right.
So, and we were getting on a daily basis, like, are you guys safe? And things like that.
Okay.
I think I can relate to this because, as a journalist, when I first started, I used to type on my laptop. So whenever I don't have access to my laptop, that means whatever story that I've written, I had to go back to my laptop in order to retrieve it. But I think about a few years ago, I started putting everything up in Google Doc?
Yeah.
Google Doc.
Yeah.
So that's cloud, right?
Accessible
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. So I can open
Anytime.
it from my phone, from my iPad, So that's the same concept, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's like comparing Google Doc with Microsoft Word.
Ah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So accessible anytime, anywhere. So let's come back to, okay, let's say I'm a business owner, right? I go to see you, Wendy. How do you allay my fears about going into this cloud accounting sort of real, right? How would you allay my fears? What does Maybank do to help me with this?
Of course, as a bank, we emphasize and we of course we want to make sure that the security or the data privacy is being assured or the compliance to assure that the SMEs that those sensitive informations are actually safe and all data is encrypted. So, when they link their business account, right, we are talking about linking the account to a bank feed. So it actually go through or redirected to Maybank's secure login, just like our personal account when you log into, if let's say you have May apps, so you log in, it will always go through, there's a secured password that you need to key in, same thing. So it's all authentication process is there. So not to worry so much where the credentials are actually never shared. Right? And this process or this is always being audited and it complies to the industrial standard. Right? So it is safe, I'd say, right?
And being one
by
of
Jye, I guess.
being one of Maybank's partner, so in order to be to partner with Maybank, we actually went through a kind of tedious process. We were being asked a lot of documents, whether we are saying complying with some policies, some ISO standards. So those things are in place. So that is what I can say.
So just out of curiosity, what kind of compliance are we talking about here?
Mainly surrounding the sensitive data. When we're talking about collaboration between two parties, so there will be an exchange of data. And for this case, we're not talking about any random data, but those data are sensitive in a sense that it's like your bank transactions, the amount, who you are actually transferring money to. So those are I think the topics was around those things. How are we handling client data?
Okay.
Where are we keeping it? And whether there's any encryption, and during the transfer of between two servers, are there any encryptions? So those kind of questions.
Yeah. Does the Personal Data Protection Act come into play here, or does it?
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely, yes.
Of course.
Okay.
I'm interested to know, how would an SME stand to grow if they adopt, digital accounting, obviously as an SME, whatever decision they make, it's all about how can I expand my business. So how would this help them in that direction?
Well, in fact, if let's say your financial records are proper in the sense that then the biggest benefit is clarity. You have financial visibility. Just now, remember one of the challenges we mentioned about they do not know whether the money in or out or when is it coming in and things like that. So that real time or those accurate financial data or transaction information that they get, will give them a better view. So they have a better position to say that, hey, I should commit to this bulk purchase or not. Perhaps a supplier come in and say that, hey, I can give you a very good discount if you buy bulk. So it's like, for SMEs, perhaps they have to assess, is my cash flow sufficient for me to make this decision or this transaction? So that comes with clarity. If they can have a proper visibility on the financials, I guess that they can make a very sound decision, right?
And they need funding to grow.
Yeah.
So in order to get funding, you need to have proper documentations. So that's where things like accounting software can come in and help with a proper documentation.
Right. Maybe you can explain to us what is My Impact SME Scale Up?
It's actually a platform that we designed to cater for SMEs or a single gateway to cater for SMEs, and which is fully online, meaning when the SMEs browse through our website, when they go into a business page, and then they can click into My Impact SMEs. Inside there, you will see we have a pre-bundle kind of solutions based on the business cycle of the SMEs, because SMEs, they go through different stages. They can have startup, micro, or even small or medium, right? So they have different requirements during their business cycle. So we're trying to make it easy for the SMEs so that, I'm startup, maybe I just micros, my requirement is just very simple. So okay, I take this bundle of SME Lite. So if I need more, then I take up another bundle called SME Up. So that's how we differentiate, and we're trying to besides transactions, besides the fundamentals of doing their collections or payments, we also introduce to them those tools or accounting, for example, Bukku, the accounting software, or other tools that can actually help our SMEs to excel or to grow. A lot of times they don't realize, they thought that, my important is I make sure that I collect money from my client.
Right.
Yeah. They don't realize that all this affects their business at the end. Yeah.
Wendy, that sounds like a lot of. That sounds like quite a comprehensive series of services by Maybank. If I were an SME and I want to get more information about all this, where can I go? Is there a website for it, or
Yes,
a number I can
definitely.
call?
Yeah, you can go into Maybank to you, our page. Then you can actually click into that under business page. Then all the informations are there.
Right. Jye, can you tell us how much does it take for an SME to sign up on this cloud accounting arrangement? Like you said earlier, actually the fee is not very expensive.
Yeah,
So how much are we talking
we
about?
have free trial. We are having a collaboration with Maybank. It can be up to 6 months free. Beyond that, we are talking about not 100 ringgit, not 1,000 ringgit, but it's starting at 35 ringgit per month.
Oh,
So it's a monthly thing, because think of it like a service that you are subscribing to, just like your Netflix, just like your Astro or whatever. Yeah, so that is.
So I guess it's a different scale, right? 35 ringgit will give you to access to different, just simple
one, and it can go up to 100 ringgit per month kind of thing.
yeah. We're curious, how did you set up Bukku? Do you come from an accounting background?
No, my background is like software, computer science. So I see that opportunity, and that's where I jump in and actually learn everything from scratch.
Okay. When you just say you saw the opportunity, how did you leverage on this opportunity? Like, what do you see lacking in terms of the mindset in the SMEs who are not taking this up yet?
That was exactly one of the reasons that when I see that why is SMEs in Malaysia still a little bit like outdated, and to our surprise, it can be still using pen and paper even until today. So and that's exactly business aside. Another reason is that I want to fix that lah. So, and that's one of the reasons for us to actually come in to actually make impact in this country.
Right. Well, talking about safety, the link connects my business account. For example, if I were to engage in this arrangement, connects my business account directly to the accounting platform. I think the one thing that comes up in my mind is safety and scams and everything. How does the protection come into this
So
matter?
definitely we are following everything, bank level, security.
Yeah.
There's all this encryption happening everywhere, at rest, at transfer. So between servers from both ends, so everything's encrypted, and we are following whatever policy in place defined by Maybank. So we went through a tough process, so it was not easy.
I think
And
in
stringent
fact
process,
for-
yeah.
I think in fact for Maybank, where we want to filter who are the partners that they work with, we also have very stringent or very strict guideline for compliance to make sure that, because end of the day, whatever that we introduce to our client, we are responsible, right? And we have to be, it must be a very reliable partners before we actually introduce it to our client.
Yeah. I would imagine so.
Yeah. It's a huge concern, but
Yeah.
it's good to know that at least Maybank is taking that very seriously.
Yeah. So talking about automation, automated accounting, keeping the numbers all in check. If I were an accountant, should I be worried about my future as an accountant, or whether will I still have my job? Or do I just-
This one I can.
Am I going to get replaced by AI? Yeah.
So this one I've been sharing everywhere. So I don't think you will have to worry so much, but you will have to worry if your job is about data entry and
Yep.
all this like lower level, like the tedious stuff that you are still doing, likely will be replaced, if not already. And we are not just talking about automation that has been around.
Yeah.
Digitalization, we're talking about 10 years. Now we're talking about AI. So, and anyone that have actually used AI recently will know how powerful this thing can be.
That's right.
So, I think to answer the question indirectly, so as long as they can provide value, so I don't know, advisory instead of data entry. So I don't think accountant will be replaced anytime soon.
Because the accountant still needs to do this job.
Exactly.
Correct.
You just have to put yourself in the right position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think from our conversation, the takeaway that we get is less human error, correct? Less human error, cleaner data to work with, and real-time data accessibility, right? What are the other plus points?
If you think positively, AI is here to actually help you with the tedious, right? So
Yeah,
unless
no one wants
you're
to do tedious job.
unless you're telling me you are so passionate to actually do a data entry on a
Yeah.
daily basis. Otherwise, I think you have to think positively, take away whatever that you don't feel like doing, and then just move on with your life and go higher level, give advisory,
Yeah.
think of a way to give better value, and of course at the same time you can charge more.
Actually, it's very true what Jye mentioned about higher value. Because a lot of SMEs that we talk to, when we look at their financial statement end of the year, right? And we were asking them, why is it such where, it does not reflect your business, right? Then they say, we do not get a very good advice from our accountants, right? I guess when they are looking at, when accountants are busy maybe on assuring accuracy of the data and reconciliation, they miss out the advisory part a lot of times, right? How do we advise the SMEs in their tax planning or even their margin? How do you plan? Because profit margin, end of the day, is very important to the SMEs, especially now, with the everyone was talking about margin thinning because of the escalation of the cost.
Margin thinning. What is that?
The escalation of the cost, whether it's compliance costs, where you have they have to invest it in software because of e-invoicing that coming out, right? Or the minimum wages that are starting. So I guess cost of doing business are increasing.
Yes, and we've done stories where we speak to a lot of business owners, especially the moms and pops shops, our parents' generation, where they have had to close shop because even hearing e-invoicing sort of makes
Scary.
Yeah. So, how does the ease of doing the ease of digitalizing your books, how does it ease the business management?
Your question is like asking how that digitalization can actually help with.
How can actually life make easy for SMEs? Life easy for SMEs, right?
Easier with this one. Just take e-invoicing for example, because like I said, a lot of business owners, the older people, they have closed shop because they can't adapt to this new way of
the way we
doing
go about it is
accounting.
we always advise or tell our customers not to worry about all these compliant things, and we are trying to abstract it out to make it as easy as possible. Of course, there are other guys out there telling you that, hey, e-invoice is scary. Come to my workshop, and we're going to charge you $1,000 per month. So I mean, we went with a slightly different approach. We are trying to make it less scary. We're trying to actually, otherwise, that's our job to automate. That's our job to actually make things easier, not to actually scare you. And we don't. Our business model is not about like charging people for whatever trainings. So our job is, our business is selling software, and in order to sell software, we need to provide value. We need to actually make things happen in a more seamless, easier way. So that has been our approach.
There's plenty to think about.
Yeah. Let's see. What about the take-up rate of SMEs going into this cloud accounting, Wendy? Maybe you can tell us, is this going to be the next big leap for Malaysia's SMEs within the next 5 years?
Yes, I would think so. Yeah, looking at the 13 Malaysian plan to align with what the government is coming out with, right? Inside there, they actually emphasize one of it is digital first. So of course, digitalization comes into the picture, and it is considered one of the key enabler for productivity, is as well as competitiveness, right? So digitalization is just not only for large corporation. So it is important for SMEs as well, like what we have been talking about. And I guess with digitalization, it allows SMEs to grow faster, respond better to the market changes, right? And to be able to compete, because now we're talking about cross-border, even globalization. So you have to be compete in that larger or wider market now, right? So yes, digitalization and digital first is very crucial. Secondly, I think we look at 13 Malaysia plan also talking about higher value economy, or higher value, how to move our SMEs up the value chain, right? So this digital accounting plays a critical role, where it helps SMEs to move from their manual tracking, informal or inaccurate kind of tracking, to a more credible financial management like this, right? So that will be an essential to move the SMEs, or how to say, a good help to the SME, or to support the SME to move up the value chain. So that is what I see, that the next that will be the next leap of for the SMEs.
Okay. Jay, maybe you can talk about the data-driven decision making.
Similarly, I think the next 3 or 5 years, the one of the main theme will still be around digitalization. So forget about pen and paper. When you move things into a proper software, then you have the data, right? So what can you do with data? And at the same time, we are also talking about real time. Make sure the data is up to date. If you are talking about a 1 year old ago data, that doesn't help. So you need to make sure, like, use any proper cloud solution there. And it can be connected to banks like Maybank to pull the transactions in almost real time. Then with all this in place, you will see a bigger picture. You can see a more complete picture rather than a fragmented data that you have to log into Maybank to see your bank balances. And you can go into whatever software to see your profit and things like that. So that prompts you to be able to in a better control in your not just about accountants. Of course, from an accountant point of view, they can give better advice. From a business owner point of view, they know better, and which is a very important thing. And a lot of people don't recognize. They thought accounting is just for compliance. This is a biggest misconception. And that's exactly the reason why we constantly have customer calling in, complaining, "Hey, why are you guys charging so expensive?" Because when they don't see the value, they will complain about it. It's just like you, accountant, charging 100 ringgit to do the data entry, and the business owner don't see the value, they will complain about it. But the point that you started giving more advisory, they're willing to pay more, and you'll be surprised about that. So I think moving forward, digitalization is a must. And why is it still a man team? Because a lot of our business owners are still being left behind. And we haven't even talked about AI.
But going back to non-compliance, I mean, there are some stiff penalties if a business doesn't keep up with their compliance. Even you will face LHDN with their penalties. If your records are incomplete, you can get fined between 300 to 10,000 ringgit.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. And businesses, I didn't know this, businesses have to keep records for 7 years, right? Maybe, Jay, you can share with us a story about, a success story.
I think don't wait until you get penalized.
Yeah, of course.
And don't wait until the government announce e-invoice. Then only start looking around. Hey, do I need accounting software or not?
Yeah.
So always stay ahead of the curve, because otherwise you might be more vulnerable for anything happening out there. All the uncertainties, the war, the trade war, the AI disrupting certain industry. Right. So how secure are you from all these threats from outside? So I think that is one of the points that I think we can actually think about.
I'm interested to know, has there been any example of an SME that has successfully transformed itself? I don't know, it could be SME, it could be something other than, because I imagine SMEs are not the only ones doing accounting.
Yes.
And JMBs and all that. Maybe
For
you can
us-
walk us through.
For us, we mainly deal with SMEs, and we're having a lot of SMEs. And yes, it's actually happening on a daily basis. So I still recall back in the days, we actually helped one of these particular client. We helped them to fully digitalize the creation of invoices. 500 or 600 invoices created within 5 minutes. So thanks to automation. And you could never imagine that they have been doing it manually. It takes them 3 to 5 days until that thing become not sustainable during that lockdown period. And that's when we actually have they reach out to us, like asking if is there anything Bukku can do. So, and back to the current time, we are helping our clients doing the exact same thing. We're helping condo management body. We're helping tuition center to automate all this invoice creation, so they do not need to actually really hire admin staff to sitting there to do that for the first 3 or 5 days, and the next 10 days, it's like processing the payments coming in, because we also have an integration with a payment gateway, which you will be able to. Your client will be able to pay everything online. It's just like an online shopping experience. They put in their credit card, they put in their debit card, touch and go or whatever, then everything is reconciled automatically in the system. There's no need for you to constantly open your WhatsApp asking, hey, have you made the payment? And all this back and forth is time consuming.
Yeah, I would imagine so. For us condo dwellers, I think a lot of JMBs need to get on this.
Yeah, I can see that, yes.
Yeah, just to make their accounting seamless and less stressful. You shared earlier about a small F&B outlet that reduced their month-end closing from 10 days to 2 days. So this is some of the ease that comes with doing cloud accounting, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I think the whole idea behind cloud accounting is the accessibility, the real-timeness, and also the streamline of the process, right? And the automation, the process, so that you can do what matters more for your businesses, instead of you still struggling whether you can hire admin staff for you to do all the groundwork.
Right. Okay. Well, when you retire, Farid, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you know who to call. We have 2 experts here.
Yes.
Call. So call Maybank, get on the website and go to the business.
Business panel, and then go click into My Impact SME.
And for Bukku,
You can just Google BUKKU.
okay,
You'll be able to find us.
UKKU.
Yep.
Double K, not
Double K, huh?
1K.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys for being on our show.
Thank you for
Really
having us.
insightful, and I think we learned a lot of things about accounting, cloud accounting, and numbers.
Yeah, I hope our listeners or SMEs out there who are listening to this, this has given you guys some useful information on how to grow your business and how to keep your accounting in order.
Thank you for listening and watching, and this podcast will be available the Star online at star.com.my.